I'm happy to present Patrul Rinpoche's Gunsan Lame Shalom, the words of my words of perfect teacher. Mainly, this is as many of you would know, it is a very extensive Ngondo teachings. Just for your information, I'm going to complete the whole transmission of this text this time. So it will complete this time. I'm going to extract, because the text is so vast and deep, so I will only manage to extract what we can and what the time allows. There's a two reason to do this. The main cause for myself deciding to do this time is there's a tradition called Lung transmission. This particular tradition of transmission is unfortunately dying. Modern people like ourselves, we have such a shortage of time and patience. As a gesture to preserve this tradition of Lung, or the transmission, so I'm thinking to actually give you the complete Lung, or the transmission of the Gunsan Lame Lung this time. Lung, or the transmission, is quite important because, as we all know, Buddhism is the follower of cause, the view of cause, condition and effect. So-called path is basically creating the right cause and condition for the result of enlightenment. Cause and condition is also what we the way the cause and condition function. They function, the way they function is, they function because they have link. Cause, condition and effects have link. It's actually, and so this creating the right link between, right communication, if you like, right sort of dialogue between cause, condition and effect is so crucial. Even to cook an egg, cause and condition needs to talk to each other. If there is no good communication, then cooking the egg may not come as desired. So it is this link that we have to really invest our time and energy. Now when I give you transmission, the Lung, you are actually creating a link all the way to the origin or the founder of this teaching, and that is so important. In fact, especially Gunsan Lame Lung is known as Jingme Jabi Nyugu. Jingme Jabi Nyugu basically transcribing the words of Gyunshin Jingme Lingpa. And later, Jingme Jabi Nyugu having two main disciples, and one of them happened to be Patrul Rinpoche, and Patrul Rinpoche basically transcribing his words. Unlike many other Tibetan texts, you will not actually, if you know the Tibetan, you will actually notice Gunsan Lame Lung is very beautifully written with a colloquial language. So during those days, there was no technology such as tape or recording MP3 machines, but even so, one could really think that these are the real words of the great master. And indirectly, because Rinpoche Jigme Lingpa is disciple of Longchen Rabjampa, there is definitely even a link with the Longchenpa and eventually up to the Samantabhadra. So it's actually even the title Gunsan Lama Shalung has so many different ways of explaining, but one of the most practical way to understand is to really indicate, Patrul Rinpoche indicating that these are the words of Jigme Javin Yugo, transcribed basically. So from Jigme Lingpa to Jigme Javin Yugo to Patrul Rinpoche to many of his disciples, all the way up to my gurus, Japji Tengku Khentse Rinpoche, Japji Dujam Rinpoche, Nyoshu Khen Rinpoche, to Ujin Rinpoche, and then to myself, and now to your ears, the transmission will be transferred, so to speak. In order to, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain wherever I know and I can think of things, and then I will let you listen to the sound of the transmission. Now, in the title, so you hear the word Dzogpa Chenpo. So if you ask, are you teaching Dzogchen? I can say confidently, yes. Dzogpa Chenpo is like an eyeball. If you hold it, it's so simple. And it's just, if you eyeball, yeah. If you hold it, it's just this much. If you let go your finger, you see everything. Dzogpa Chenpo is also absolutely simple. In fact, not only Dzogpa Chenpo, all the absolute teaching of the Buddha is the utmost simple. It's so simple that the moment we try to describe, it will ruin the simplicity. Bit like in the tradition of name that can be given is not a name. It is beyond contemplation, expression, words, language, symbol. In the past, I think even in China, definitely in India, the teachings on the ultimate truth being simple, utmost simple, I think was not only Buddhism. But maybe this is my being Buddhist prejudice. But what makes Buddhism so special, and especially Mahasandhi or Dzogpa Chenpo, is it has a complete open to complications. Dzogpa Chenpo will not isolate itself, calling itself simple. It will not isolate itself. The simplicity of the Dzogpa Chenpo blends and in harmony so well with the complication of everything. This is why when you read the titles like Magom Sangje, Buddhahood without meditation, many not well prepared people end up thinking, oh, we don't have to do anything. If you don't do anything, you are also isolating yourself. And that kind of isolation is not so comfortable. It's really, really basically like going inside a prison. You isolate yourself, you lock yourself into the concept of not doing anything. And you swallow the key. And there's no copy of the key. Copy. There's no extra key. So then you are stuck inside. And you are not enjoying it. And you really want to get out. The only way to get out is you have to shit. You have to shit and try to find the key inside there. And that's a complication. I'm telling you this because many people love the word and the idea of Dzogchen. And to a certain extent, I admire that. I admire the fact that people are attracted, the attraction to Dzogchen for its sort of non-doing in one way. But, attraction to the sort of occasional attraction to non-doing is one thing. But to apply that view of non-doing practically is another. So, because we are just so, we have such a strong habit of wanting to do things. So first, what we need is really try to not want to do. First, we need to, want not doing things. Because otherwise, it will become like philosophical book that you keep in your bookshelf. Sometimes you read and it sounds very impressive. It gives you a philosophical satisfaction. It gives you answer. Philosophical answer gives you satisfaction. When you are satisfied, does not mean that you have changed. You are only satisfied. You are still the same. So that path is useless. So initially, really developing this wanting to not do anything. For that, you need to develop a renunciation towards the habit of wanting to do things. For that, you need to see the downfall of entanglement in doing things. So, in nutshell, words of my perfect teacher, what it teaches us, it is a systematic, practical, step-by-step guide to develop a revulsion towards wanting to do things and attraction, a genuine attraction to and application of not doing anything. In order to listen to this, both teaching and the transmission, as it is stated in the text, I shall remind you two kinds of intention or motivation. Your motivation should be vast, and I'm talking about real vast, unbelievable vast, like almost like the plan to build stairs to the sky. Ordinary people cannot conceive this kind of motivation. Ordinary people can conceive only things like maybe, like conquer the world, have 1 million friends in the Facebook chat, stuff like that. Very, very limited. or become like 7 times richer than Bill Gates. Very, very, very small plan. Unachievable, even though it's a very small plan, they are not that easy to achieve. Some of us, we just have a plan to have just a good family, a little bit of money, balance in the bank. That's probably also difficult to achieve. So our motivation has to be incredibly big, which is the bodhicitta, to enlighten every single sentient being that is known. I mean, just to make one member of our family, how much, and help one member of our family takes time and energy and it's exhausting, and for past 50 years we try to make one of our family member happy, and it's still really not working, isn't it? Here, we're not only just to make them happy, much more than that, to enlighten them, every one of them. That's so important. So like, for instance, like listening to the teaching, lighting a lamp, making an offering of a flower, whatever we do it to enlighten all sentient beings. If you were to ask me, so what's the benefit of thinking incredible things? Is it just a mind training? Of course it's a mind training, but much more than that. Already you are, by having this kind of incredible motivation, already you are getting accustomed to infinite emptiness already. Because after all, what is the meaning of the word all? All sentient beings. You know, when we say all, what do we mean by that? For some, 3 is all, or 1 is all, maybe. For others, hundreds and hundreds is still not enough. So, as a follower of the Mahayana path, that is important. And as part of that, Patrul Rinpoche really emphasized on the path of the 3 wholesomeness. Doing whatever you do, especially the virtuous act, with the bodhicitta as a motivation, wishing to enlighten all sentient beings, basically. And while you perform the act of the virtue, such as listening to the teaching, time to time remind ourselves the illusory aspect of the very act. Whatever you do, you are doing, whatever you do, your activity, everything is like a dream, like a mirage. At least to remember this. And this is so important. This is almost like a defense mechanism of a virtuous act. If there's an obstacle to whatever you do, a virtuous act, such as people getting angry, people stepping on your toes, people disturbing you practicing the Dharma, whatever, you will not get mad because it's all illusion. Or at least you will not get worked up. You know, many times when we are doing something good, something we think good, because we think that we are doing this for good, with a kind heart, with a right motivation, then with a kind heart also it has a tag along, it tags along with the pride of having a good motivation. So if you keep remembering that what you do, even with your best of the intention, is as in reality an illusion, chances of conditions interfering you and your activity will become much lesser. Then in order to multiply the virtuous act, dedicating the merit. Anyway, that is the first motivation. The second motivation is the motivation of Tantrayana. So, asking a question like, such a great undertaking, like enlightening all sentient beings, these are a very, very big job. How can we ever manage to do this? Life is so short. We still have a lot of things to do. We have to pay the bills. We need to live on this consumer society, which is just very viciously designed to consume and consume. How can we ever even begin to even think to forget all sentient beings, myself, even to achieve enlightenment? This is where the tantric motivation comes in. We can actually call it two vastness: the Mahayana's vastness of motivation and the Tantrayana's vastness of method. And that is, again, an attitude. It's a practice of attitude. Attitude toward oneself. That we are, whether we know or not, whether we have discovered or not, we are all, we have, or we are Buddha, or that we have Buddha nature. That's very important to have that kind of attitude, because immediately it opens the possibility that one could achieve enlightenment, no matter how we are seemingly stubbornly ignorant and emotional. Defined. Yeah, defined. And the one that is giving the teaching, the master, is also none other than the Samantabhadra himself. The place is not an ordinary place, but also the place for the Vidyadharas. Okay? So with this attitude, whether you believe or not, according to the Tantrayana, if one really generating this thought that the master who is giving the teaching is the Samantabhadra, we all are Vidyadharas. This place is a mandala. Just with this kind of attitude, just hearing one word of the Dharma will dispel millions and millions of lifetimes defilement. Okay, so with this attitude, and also thinking that you are now creating a karmic link all the way to the Samantabhadra through all these great Vidyadharas, please sit straight, and this time just listen to the sound. And if you think about your whatever you are, like the home, the conversation you had yesterday, who you are going to meet tonight, if your mind begins to wander around again, just watch those thoughts. Do not abandon. Do not adopt if there's any good thoughts. Just listen to the sound of the transmission and then sit still until I stop. When we study, if you are serious in seeking enlightenment, and I emphasize this because many times we are not really serious about achieving enlightenment. Somewhere deep inside, if you look into it carefully, we may be looking for some kind of a satisfaction, some kind of a relief. And even this satisfaction and relief, we are only longing for something quite temporal, because really, one way or another, we end up cherishing samsaric life and this life. And not to cherish this life or the samsaric life is difficult, because they are so alluring and we are so habituated to think that they are important. We really don't know how we ended up learning and habituating ourselves, thinking that praise is important. Praise of somebody is really, you can't eat it, you can't deposit, you can't sort of exchange it in a money changer. And not only, and things like that. We have learned to love these useless things, and it's going to be difficult to get rid of it. It's just, what do they say? It's difficult to teach new trick to the old dog. So really, time to time, really important to contemplate. Do we really want? Am I really looking for enlightenment? And if we do really want enlightenment, then we have to really begin to learn not to get allured or not to want anything that disturbs the path to the enlightenment. For instance, even listening to the teaching. Here in the text talks a lot about, different kind of, like problem, different kinds of faults, downfall of like vessels, for instance. Like not listening, not registering. And the worst is a vessel, the tainted, stained vessel. So even listening to the teaching, you should never listen to the teaching because this will make you more scholarly or you'll be more informed. First of all, collecting the knowledge is not the idea. And even if it is that you are looking for a knowledge, the knowledge you are looking for is so that it will be applied for the benefit of all sentient beings or enlightenment. So to be well versed in the text, shlokas, all these different categories of Dharma, for the seeker of enlightenment, it's not that important. If you are seeking for some kind of a knowledge to become a scholar, then that's already a defilement, that kind of attitude. And listening to the teaching, you are pouring this nectar into a stained vessel. If you are listening to the teaching with this motivation of wanting to be a scholar, then all kinds of defilements are easy to creep in, especially the worst two kinds of defilement, pride and jealousy. So because you began with a wrong approach, wrong angle. So you see faults in even the teacher. You will compare yourself with others, and that leads to the jealousy. So even listening to the teaching should come with the right motivation. It's the more appropriate motivation that you should apply is as stated in the sutra by the Buddha himself. One must consider oneself as ailed, sick, like a patient. When we go to a doctor, we don't go with the pride that I am very well. The whole point of going to a physician is lost. So considering, contemplating, and really referring oneself genuinely that I am sick, basically, I am not well. I am weak. I can't stand on my feet. I have no control. And then referring the Dharma as the medicine and the teacher as the physician. such kind of attitude is preferred when you listen to the teaching. So again, with this kind of motivation, sit still and listen to this transmission. And then, if we are really longing or looking or seeking for enlightenment, as I said, in other words, we have to really train ourselves to turn our mind into the Dharma. For that, we have to begin with appreciation towards this particular human state. Just because you are a human being does not mean that you are perfect vessel for the practicing the Dharma. You have to have a particular character. Like in the text, remember, in some of you, those who have read, when Milarepa met this hunter, Milarepa said, I thought the human body is so precious and is so difficult to obtain, but looking at you doesn't look like the precious human body is that difficult to obtain. There's a many ways to look at this particular human character that probably we have. And if we do have, we should really not waste it. And probably we don't have. As Patrul Rinpoche suggested, we should really look at ourselves and see whether we have this character or not. Many different ways to look at this character. One is, if you have this awkward feeling towards the glory of samsara, this really uncomfortable feeling, that is quite an important character to have. I'll give you an example. You know, in Delhi, street kids, beggars, they suffer a lot. They suffer a lot. It's just heartbreaking to see like a girl, like maybe 5 years old girl, trying to be the mother to her 3 years old younger brother to take care. No place to live, roaming around in the midst of the traffic, trying to beg or make 1 or 2 cents. One would think these people must have a big renunciation towards the samsara, but they don't. They are so busy and completely focused on the next meal. It doesn't matter how they will get it, beg, steal, cheat, doesn't matter, they have to do it. Of course they suffer, but they don't feel awkward to their life. They're busy thinking about the next meal. But the same city, I should not be revealing their name, in the same city, a very, very rich Indian family. Really rich. Indian rich people are very rich. And their son and the daughters, they have been to the greatest school, they have done the greatest, achievement in their education, universities here, there, everything. And, recently they've come to me and they, they just are so disgusted with their life. The family thinks something has gone wrong in their head, of course. Now the family knows that both son and the daughter is beginning to come to my place. So then this family, the rich family, is beginning to bribe me. Very clever there, what do you need for your monastery, stuff like that. But anyway, quintessentially what they really want is for me to tell them go back and work. Or get married, actually. That's the most important, the get married. But to me, these two, boy and the girl, they have one of the character of precious human body. They have everything that a human beings can dream of. I heard that, and I didn't know that, but I heard that someone said just their house alone they have about 60 maids or servants. But anyway, this feeling, all this means nothing. All this is kind of, but from a consumer and materialistic point of view, I'm sure some people might think these two kids are the most unappreciative, most, they've gone crazy, all of that. Sort of this kind of feeling awkward is such an important human character for the Dharma. Basically, those who have this kind of character or this kind of attribute will open their ears and heart to the words of the Dharma. So, in a way, as when you go through the text, you will realize precious character of precious human body is mixture of certain wealth, like maybe things like you are not lowly born like an animal, you are not you are equipped with all the organs, but at the same time someone also who has this genuine heart of sadness. Someone who is sad is also a good character. So this is something that we should really contemplate. Do we have this? And if we do we have it all the time, or does it come like in the morning and goes out in the evening? I have to say, all of you who come this morning, you do have this morning. Because whatever you are hearing, all these teachings, this is not going to help you become rich or powerful or make more friends. While you are sitting here, the market is going up and down. You're losing lots of chance here. And especially also those who came here this morning, this teaching, because, if it is a Zambala teachings, then we don't know why you are here. If it is a Gurukula teachings, we also don't know. This is a Ngondro teaching. This is like, like sad news after sad news. So this feeling awkward, this feeling kind of the samsaric glory is not enough. This quest for something more meaningful, so important, so precious, you have to keep it. You have to nurture it. It's kind of a depression, but a really important and precious depression.
这种呢是你需要去培养的沮丧。